let's talk about methods. Okay, so I want to sort of combine the concept of methods with modularization. So going forward, we're going to have basically two files. We're going to have a file that is sort of the root, and then we're going to have a file that is where we put our code, right? So we're going to have like a a test file, which will contain our public static void main method, and then the code we write for whatever we're doing will be um, in a separate file. So let me go. I'm going to put this in. Let's do it here. Let's do methods. So for the methods, I've taken sort of my notes for methods. So when we declare a method, we have to add what's called the access modifier. For now, we're just going to use public. We'll move away from that in the future, but public just means that it's basically accessible anywhere. But more importantly, we need the return type. So if we make a method that's going to return a string, we have to specify that that method is going to return a string. Okay. So the methods and the method signature is the method name and then the list of parameters. Okay, so if I make a method called greet and it takes in a name value or a name parameter as a string, this right here represents the method signature. Okay, and that's just terminology. And we'll talk more about what that means and why we have that terminology as we go forward. Okay, so if I'm going to make a methods.java, so I'm going to put methods in here. So I'm going to make a method called, let's say age. So I'm going to say it's going to be public, meaning that I can call this method from another file. And I'm going to say my age. So I'm going to return an int. The method name is say age. And all it's going to do is say return can I do this? Yeah. Okay. So it's a lie, but I'm going to say I could call this lie about age, but I want to call this method in a different file, right? Because I'm going to put a list of methods. I'm going to put a bunch of methods here. Let's just make one more. I'm going to say public string greet, and that's going to return hello, Tyler. Nice to see you. Okay. So if I run this file, right? If I, it doesn't even give me the option of running it, right? So why, or what do I need to do, or where do I need to call these methods to get 39 to appear and to get hello Tyler, nice to see you to appear? What's the method, like the starting point of every Java class?
Print out.
Yes, but so yes, so s out, but where does s out have to, what method does s out have to be inside of?
Main.
Main, right? So we have to have a main method, right? So this is just the methods that I'm going to call. So in order to get these to actually print to the screen, I'm going to create another file. I'm going to call it main.java. So in here, I'm going to put public static void main, and I'm going to try to invoke these methods. So let me put these side by side so you can see. So I've got my method say age. So as long as these two files are in the same directory, they can see each other. I don't need to do any imports. It's just this main.java can see methods.java. Okay, so I'm going to try to call, say, age, and I'm going to invoke it. Okay, so my file turns red, right? So we immediately stop. Whenever our file turns red, something's wrong. So I'm going to hover over this. It says method say age undefined for the type main Java. So thinking way back to Python, if we have a class called methods, and this is a method that belongs to this class, what do I need in order to call this method?
To declare them,
What do you mean?
to print them out, to declare them.
So like you mean, well, so you're declare, I like where you're going.
You
What do
have
you
to
mean
like
declare?
You to port the method to your main.
inheritance.
So I don't need to import.
I remember last time you made it like an instance of it or something.
Yes, we need an instance, right? So going back to, I don't know how far I want to go with this. Let's just say we have user.py, right? And I have a oops. Nope. Right. So in order to call say hello, I needed to make a method of user, right? So I needed to say user equals user, right? And then I could say user dot say hello. Does everybody remember that?
Kind of, not really.
Kind of, sort of. Okay. Okay. So in Java, it's the same thing. We can't just say hello, right? We need an instance of the class, right? Just like we had, did I do Teslas with you guys? We had a Tesla, right? So we had the company Tesla and then we had the individual Teslas, right? So this has to be an individual user to be able to call say hello. The other alternative was I could say class method. I'm forgetting the syntax now. Class method say something. Oh, I'm forgetting. This is what happens when you don't do it for a month. Self CLS, right? So if I had a class method designated, then I don't need an instance. Then I can just say user dot say something, right? This same thing applies in Java, but we'll get to that tomorrow. Okay, but for right now, we need an instance of the class to be able to call its method. So let me get back to main.java. So in order to call say age, I need an instance of my methods class. Okay, so I'm going to call my instance M, and the syntax for making a instance of a method is the same as JavaScript. So I use the new keyword and call methods. Oops. Right? So this creates an instance of my methods class. But I need to, whenever I make a variable, I have to say what the variable is going to hold. Okay, so what is M?
A string?
It's not a string. I'm making an instance of the method class.
So it's a method.
The method, exactly. So I need to say that M is going to be a method.
Oh.
methods. There we go. Okay, so now I can say m dot, right? I can say my instance of my method class can call the sayAge instance method. Okay, we're not going to see anything because it's returning, so I need to s out this. Can I do this? Yeah. Okay, so now, sorry about that. Now all I need to do is compile one file. All I need to do is compile the main.java, because the methods class is what's known as a dependency, right? So I don't have to compile both of these. If I compile the main.java, it will automatically compile my methods class as well. So if I run this, I get 39. Okay. Questions? There's got to be questions. I mean, there doesn't have to be, but I would assume there are. Thank you. Sorry about that. Let me say that again. So in Python, we could only have one method with a given name, right? So if we had two index methods in our Flask application, it would crash. In Java, we can have what's called method overloading. So I can overload the greet class. Or I'm sorry, the greet method. Overload methods. So I can make another public string greet. The only issue is they have to have different signatures. So there's two parts to a method signature. There's the name of the method, and then there's the parameter list. So I can set up the second greet to take in a name parameter. Okay. So if I'm going to take in a name parameter, what else do I need in addition to just saying what the parameter name is? Type, right? We have to have the type. So I have to say that name is going to be a string, right? Once I do this, it's still mad at me because I think I haven't returned anything yet. So if I return, now if I want this function to return hello whoever and have the same basic output, but I can call greet with a name, right? So I can say greet Miguel, right? And instead of saying hello Tyler, nice to see you, it's going to say hello Miguel, nice to see you. So how do I insert, instead of it being Tyler, how do I insert Miguel or whatever name I pass into this string?
Can you do it directly there, or do you have to do it like you showed the example earlier, where you did like message equals, the percent something?
Yeah. So what I could do is this, right? I could say hello plus name plus, what would I do? Exclamation point, nice to see you. Right? That'll work. But it's kind of, I don't care for this syntax, right? It's because it's very error prone. Like if I run this, let's see what we get. I mean, it worked out kind of okay, but the other way we could do this is with the format method. So I could just say return and then string.format. And I could say hello. And here's where I want to insert my name. So I just %s, exclamation point, nice to see you. Right? And then I just add in my name variable. And don't forget the semicolon. Semicolons will be the bane of your existence for the next 3 weeks. If you forget them, it's not going to work. So now I've got what Java refers to as an overloaded method. So I have two methods, both called greet. And so I can call greet without any arguments, or I can call it with arguments and it will function the same way. So if I run this, I get the two outputs. Okay, so you can overload as much as you want. You can keep adding possible scenarios, right? So I can call string greet. So if I want to take in a name and a greeting, so now I can say hello %s, comma, actually no, hello %s, exclamation point, %s. And now I can say name, comma, greeting. So now when I invoke this version of the greet method, I would pass in Miguel and I would pass in nice to see you. Or something else. Let's say, hello, Miguel. Let's install Java. Okay, so if I run this, okay, so that's method overloading. I'm going to mess up your name and I apologize in advance. Enmol, am I saying it right? So your question is there anything like fstring? And unfortunately, this is the closest Java comes to fstring, right? So the string.format, it's the Python or the Python way of doing it is basically that's what Python is doing behind the scenes. It's calling, well, Python is written in C, so it's calling something different. But this is the sort of more the short answer to your question is no. There's no fstring. All right. Cool. All right, so let's. What time is it? Oh, here's what I'm gonna do.